Okay, guys, we'll get going. Sorry about the delayed start. The code to check in is on screen just now. If you want to check in. How was everyone this week? Good. Everyone got that? Yep. Okay. So last week I actually forgot. I asked for your discussion pieces, and I actually forgot to look through them. So thank you everyone that shared your articles that you've been looking at and your news, how it relates to sports finance. I enjoyed looking through them this afternoon. Let's just pick out a couple. Maston, do you want to tell us a little bit about your story?
To check in, sorry. Yes.
Okay, I'll write it down for you. So, Maxim, do you want to tell us a little bit about your story that you posted?
Yes, it's about UFC. Taking place in Toronto. Broadcasting records.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. There was some other interesting stuff. So, Johan, thank you for your story on Real Madrid. €200 million euros a year thanks to new sponsorship deal with HP. Jack, do you want to talk us through your Saudi Arabia story that you shared?
Yeah, I just think about skimmed through it, but it looked like Saudi Arabia were investing a bit of money into snooker. They'd obviously done a lot of other sports, like it says up there, to host a new tournament in March. And there was something to do, it wasn't too clear, but a new kind of unique rule in their game with a golden ball, they would call it, where you would get more prize money if you potted that or something. It was quite vague, but it was basically along those lines, and it was quite controversial. A lot of it, people in snooker and just the critics basically accusing of sports washing and that sort of thing.
Yeah. Okay. So interesting that they've gone for snooker, a very different type of sport to the other ones they've pursued. But interesting to see whether that will, and there's almost like a small bit of sports marketing here as well, where they're trying to appeal to a different audience, perhaps by introducing a golden ball element, which might make it a little bit more interesting. Okay, good. Any others that we can have a quick look at? Ying, do you want to tell us your story?
Yeah, so it's basically how Tennis Australia recognized that their tournament, which is the Grand Slam of the Asia Pacific, is facing rival bids from China or Saudi Arabia, which have the money to compete with them. But they also said that they were willing to spend more money to keep the tournament and extended their contract for the venue, Victoria State.
Yeah.
And I think the article mentioned some other things about how they innovated the fan experience to be able to bring in more money.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay, thank you very much. Yeah. Thank you. And then I think we have one more. Yeah, Sheeny. Yeah, talk us through the story.
It's about how the cryptocurrency or the Bitcoin is harming the sports club. So PM has warned them not to use that, and it's been reduced in India.
Yeah. Yeah, so really interesting, this one. I think quite a lot of discussion around the future of how sports clubs are going to generate income. There's been a lot of discussion around NFTs, these non-fungible tokens that essentially are like you get a unique copy of whatever your sports organization token which they produce. It's been quite varied success with them to date, not a huge amount of success. And I think the problem is that a lot of these tokens are trying to partner with sports organizations to validate themselves and gain some element of respectability. But they're also trying to position it as a financial investment where you can generate money off the back of it. But most of these, like many cryptocurrencies, actually fall in price, and there's actually quite a lot of risk to supporters because they're marketed in a way which suggests that there might be some income. So it's quite an interesting space to watch that they're talking about whether or not these might be prohibited by government. Okay, we've got quite a lot to get through today. So I will plow on. Thank you for all your discussion pieces. Plenty of time throughout the rest of the week if you want to post something. Quick recap from what we did last week. Last week we were looking at different types of sports organisations and almost the different sectors of sports organisations and how revenue will change on account of the type of organisation you are. Most likely sources of income. That's quite annoying. So I'll find out what's going on in there. Right. We also looked at the pros and cons of being an incorporated organisation. So we spoke about what incorporation means and being unincorporated and what are the advantages and disadvantages of this. And then we looked at the characteristics of different types of legal structures and how finance might interact with that, particularly for community amateur sports clubs and charitable clubs. And this week we are looking at budgeting. Over the next 2 weeks, actually, we're going to be looking at budgeting. The structure of these sessions is going to be very much based on getting you to actually do stuff. So less of me standing here talking, but you actually going away and doing bits and pieces. So the first one we're going to do, I'm going to kick off straight away and get you thinking about this in a kind of practical setting. If you can go to Canvas and go to the exercise 1, there is a case study on Black Stump FC. And you're asked about what you would do in a particular situation. Okay, so you are put in the position of a new committee coming into an American football club. Yes? Doesn't work?
It's not authorized to download it.
Okay, give me a minute. The PDF doesn't work. Yeah.
Just one
File is not available.
Okay, 1 minute. Okay, if you refresh your page,
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah.
So have a read through. You can do this in small groups or pairs. There's a case study. Have a look through the situation that the new committee coming into the club find themselves in. And then what I would like you to do is have a little think about what you would do if you were coming into that role. What steps would you take to try and improve the financial situation of the club in that position? Okay? Is that everyone okay with that? They understand where they can find this exercise on Canvas? Yeah? Great. Everyone had a chance to read through? Have you had a chance to chat about what actions you would take if you were one of these new committee members coming in to support the club? Got a list of recommendations you might take? Yeah? Okay. Does somebody want to give us a quick overview of the situation the club find themselves in? A quick summary. What kind of financial state are they in?
They weren't aware about the funds.
Yes, okay, yep. So they weren't aware that the club was perhaps being mismanaged for quite a number of years. What else?
Basically, before starting the financial year, they had budgeting for the complete year. That was the major drawback which I found here. And they have not done the budgeting, and there was no blueprint of budgeting how they have to utilize the funds which they'll be getting.
Yep.
So that is a major issue which has been found.
Yep, good. So we've already identified the importance of budgeting. So in this instance, there's been no budget prepared, which means that, as they say here, the committee were flying blind. And the committee were making some fairly big financial decisions, obviously without much of a plan or a strategy. What were some of the big decisions that the committee were making that got them into such a pickle financially?
Appointing a coaching director on a full-time basis.
Yeah, coaching director full-time basis. Yes. Yep. So paying quite a lot of salaries now. Yep.
And I think engaging in building projects, even though they were to contribute to their own share to the building project.
Yep.
I think that's a major decision that sank them into the hole.
Yeah, so they started developing was it a clubhouse that they were developing? Yep. Okay. Yep, so the employment of the coaching director, the starting of the building project to improve the clubhouse, and the ambition of the club to be promoted to the highest league. Okay. So what suggestions did you come up with in terms of the things that you would do if you were appointed to this committee a task of sorting out this situation, what would you take? Declare bankruptcy. Okay. We'll go for a more positive outlook. What might we do?
The maximum financial thing was handled by volunteers and which made a mess, and there was no experience, and they were not being experienced with an accountancy. So
Yeah.
we would like to recruit a person who is well versed with accountancy and who can manage, and because as the report says, they have given us 6 pages of profit and loss document, but that's not a way they have to produce.
Yeah.
So when we produce the same report to the committee or the professional, so he would be making it much more easier, because always budget profit loss would be within half a page or 1 page to understand.
Good. Okay.
So first point is to recruit a person who is financial, like his background and he's expert in finance.
Excellent. Okay, so recruit a treasurer. That's an expert treasurer. Proper. Yep. And but actually, the thing you said there is also really important. That makes the information accessible to the rest of the committee and to the members, so they can understand the situation. Yeah.
Produce, or whenever we write some report, it should be understandable to the layman.
Yeah.
So that's how the report should be. Absolutely. But if it comes with completely technical terms, or completely about the Excel sheet with the budgeting, nobody will understand.
Excellent. Great. So making the financial status and situation of the club accessible for other people to understand. Good. So recruiting an expert treasurer, making the financial information accessible.
Ask the paid employees to take a wage cut.
Good. Okay. Yeah. Or if we were being brutal.
That was my second point. Like, let go of the unnecessary paid employees.
Yeah. Okay. Good. So we might need to think about asking them to take a pay cut, or reduce hours, or possibly get rid of them. What else?
Sue the former people.
Sue some of the former committee, do you think?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Good point. Yeah. If they've not been fulfilling their duties as a committee member. Good. All right. It's worth thinking about.
The most important thing is ask the bank for some time spent to repay the debt.
Yeah. Have a start conversation with the bank. Explain the situation. Yeah. Because the bank would rather you sort it out than have to start taking away your assets.
Yeah.
Good. Okay. Excellent. Anything else?
We are adjusting the ambition of the team.
Reduce the ambition?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. There's no point. It's good to be ambitious, right? But we need to go about it in a pragmatic, sustainable way, right? There's no point throwing money at something that you can't afford to lose with no guarantee that you're going to recruit that in sort of sustainable sources of income. Good. Excellent. Reduce the expectation.
Stop making the clubhouse and stop investing more on the clubhouse, instead use it to repay the bank.
Excellent. Yeah, good. Okay. Great. All very, very good suggestions. Anything else that we would do?
Basically that opposite that should be ranked in the priority.
So say that again.
I think that should be objectives should be ranked in the priority.
Yes. Okay. Excellent. Good. Good. Okay. Shall we see what they did? So how the club survived. So sorry, this is a lot of text, but they actually took a lot of steps to go about it. So they could have very easily filed for bankruptcy and gone out of business, but they chose not to. The corrective action taken by the new committee comprised the following: so retrenchment of all 6 staff, retrenchment in this case being redundancy. 2 casual bar staff were hired back as the bar was a source of income, so they needed to keep the bar going because that was how they were going to generate revenue. Hire of a management agent to replace the club manager, saving about 50% of the salary. Cessation of payments to all coaches and players, which was a very unpopular one. So that's exactly what you were saying, stopping to pay the coaching staff. The staging of a fundraising dinner which raised $10,000. The management agent made this happen. Arrangements were made with all creditors, including the tax office. This was very important. I think that's your point about starting up that conversation with the bank, or what would be HMRC in Britain in this instance. The continuance of trading in the bar and poker machines by using the management agent's line of credit with liquor companies. The pursuit of the club's auditor who failed to act and retrieving 4,000 auditor's fees. That was your point. Okay, maybe they didn't sue them, but they claimed they got compensation for their failure to act. Making arrangements with sacked employees about payment of their entitlements. The employees knew the club had no money, so the best way to get paid was to go along with the club's arrangements. And the raising of sponsorship to the tune of 20,000. So they started to operate more sustainably under this new financial model that they were operating on. And what you often see in lots of professional sport as well is there will be different shifts in patterns. So clubs will go through different periods where perhaps they're being more optimistic and sustainable, but then actually they realize that it's not sustainable and they'll perhaps cut back on some of their salaries and some of their spending in professional sports. Okay, good. Nice little exercise to kick off today. So our little outline for today is why sports organizations budget. We're going to look at the budgeting theory and the 9 steps of it, including the pros and cons of budgeting. We're going to be compiling some budgets for sports clubs, and this is going to lead into the discussion of your first assignment, which I think is due in 2 weeks' time, which is a club's budget for the forthcoming year, feasibility budget. We've got 4 learning outcomes for today, so you'll be able to understand the purpose of budgeting, describe the 9 stages of budgeting, critique the pros and cons of budgeting, and put together a budget for a sports event or sports organisation. So again, as I say, I'm not going to talk too much today. We're going to go straight into a second exercise. So there's a second, this one hopefully should load, on Canvas. If you go to exercise 2, this is a simple event budget. Okay, so if you want to open that up and work with a partner or in a small group, work through the case study and pull the numbers together. I have the answers here so we can work through it together. If we go to week 3, okay, so simple event budget. In this exercise, the task is to work out the registration fee that participants in a one-day conference must be charged so the event makes a $1,000 profit. Okay, you can download the sheet from here. If you download it, it will open in Excel. And you can start to work through the case study presented on the Canvas page. You might need to insert a line for speakers. Everyone able to access it? Okay. Yeah. Sorry?
Can we add things with the expander?
Yeah, so I've added in the 2 lines that speakers and hotel function.
Okay.
So it should be 56 pounds per day.
Sorry?
56 pounds per day.
Say it again.
56 pounds per day.
Okay, is that what you think it is? Okay. All right. You got the same number? Okay.
If it is 60, then we can make some.
Okay. And that's to give you the Okay, how are we getting on? You've done? You're done? You guys okay? Good? Yeah? Are you guys yeah? So I take it all over the place. So close brackets. No. Okay.
What a registration fee do you put down per person and then total income?
Okay, so remember they want to generate $1,000 profit.
So if we like skip $60
Realize that they need to generate yes, exactly. And what bits you need to smash by 100 to get
So we need to select it exactly $1,000.
For the food and refreshments.
So you're looking to convert all those
Yeah.
So yeah, so your registration fees. How do you come Okay, we'll work through it. Some people have come up with the right answer. How many of you are comfortable using Excel? Yeah, some of you, a lot of you. So there is further support. If you've not used Excel before, there is further support on how to use Excel on Canvas because you will be using it for the assignment. Okay. So what we typically do when we're doing a budget is we're working out what we, even though the income is at the top here, we're working out the expenditure first. Okay. So for speakers, how much are we paying out?
150 per head, it will be 600.
600, yeah, for the function hire or the hall.
1,000.
Yeah. Advertising.
1,000.
Yeah. Photocopying and printing.
500.
Okay. Flowers and shrubs.
200.
Excellent. Table linen.
100.
Giveaway stationery.
200.
Great. And food and refreshment.
1,000.
Great. So for those that haven't used or don't know the quickest way to sort of add all of these up, if we want to do a sum, we do an equal sign, or this is the way that I know there are other ways of doing it. Equal sum, open brackets. Okay, and if you just want to add a series of numbers together, you can just drag them down like that. Close brackets, and it'll give you the total. Okay, so it'll give you 4,600. Okay. So we know that if we want to generate $1,000 profit, what would our sum up here be? Yeah, so we would go. So guys, listen up. So what we would do here for the registration fees is hopefully this formula will work. Open sum, and what we're doing essentially is we know what we want to generate, okay, which is 1,000 plus what we have to spend. So we would add it with that cell, okay, and then we want to essentially divide it by 100. Oops, that's not right. So we know actually, sorry, this is sum that plus that, close brackets, divide by 100. 56, okay? That will give us 5,600, okay? Is that clear how we've got there? Yeah? Did you do it slightly differently?
I did like direct equation.
You did a different equation.
Direct equation.
That equation. Great. Okay, everyone happy with that? So there is going to be a little bit of using formula in your assignments, but we will work through it at the end of the session. Okay. We've done the simple event budget. I'm now going to get you to do a slightly harder one. So we're going to do a more complex one. So if you go to the third exercise on Canvas, we'll start working through that together. Okay. So you can find again all the details of what you need on the page there. You might need to create a total column over here as well. So also be careful, because I've noticed on the sheet it doesn't present the number of pieces of equipment required very clearly. So when you're adding up the cost of equipment, make sure that you notice how many is required for each bit. Yeah. So it's one of them, it's just one required, but for some of them it's two required. So obviously the cost is doubled.
So the cost given is for each. We'll have to multiply.
So it will say item required, it will give the description of the item required, then it will say quantity required. So the first one is 1, then 2, 2, 2, 2, so on.
So it is,
the last one is how much each one.
kg this graph of 2 of 250, which means 250 into 2.
500.
Yes. Yeah.
So actually, in the accommodation they have given the number of references requiring such accommodation is 6, and the average accommodation cost is expected to be 120 per night. They have given, but they have not given whether it's per night or 6. So how is it possible?
So the 5 nights. Is that
5 nights.
Yeah.
But they have not given that 120 is for one person or for all the 6%. That's what is
for
missing.
one person. How's everyone getting on? Did you make sure you some of them are there's 2 required? Shit. Yeah. See, it says, I made that mistake. Do you have Excel? Yeah. Do you have Okay, so you'll need to use it for the assignment, Okay. Yeah.
So you mean 15.
How you guys getting on? Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
There is an additional cost. Stipend 2000 to 8,000. Yeah, it's 75. Now come to the FDI component. Just now go for three five W
16 pages. Yeah, but
I have a question.
excuse me.
Yes.
How did you get this pen? Dang it. This time's for the spectators.
How did I get that?
Yeah.
The ticket sales, the normal cost of a spectator ticket to the Fourth Day International Weightlifting Tournament is $10 per day. You're right. One second. That's how it works.
That's
I do. There we go. We're good. Got it?
Yeah.
Excellent.
I can see this one.
Yeah. How many people are close to finishing? I don't want to give away the final answer in case people want to work it out for themselves. Where did you go wrong? Okay. Yep. Okay. Who came up with the? Who's finished? Yeah, Sandy, you finished, haven't you? Yeah. Anybody else? No. I'll give you another few minutes.
so the program. Is that a daily program or is it for the whole tournament?
For the whole.
How am I going to do that?
Where did you go wrong?
I don't know.
Programs. All right. Okay. So programs. How many days?
All right.
Yeah, so I think in the bottom section of the program that they say you're sell 1,000 programs at $5 each.
That's 29, right? Yeah.
Yes. Sorry, one second. Yeah. Yes. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. You added on the programs. So it says on the program section, you can generate sell the programs $5 each. Yeah.
We did that.
Yeah.
I got it.
Good.
I put 100 instead of 1,000.
Anybody struggling at all?
So it just I've divided it. Do we have like yeah. I don't know if it's right.
Couple more minutes. Yeah. Worked out? Yeah. Yeah.
And like moving around and doing it quickly. Because I just subtracted from the total.
So you
Trophies, I think, should be there's 8 division states.
So if you read the information, it says that they think
Okay, that's what happens then.
Yeah. Okay, let's have a look through the answers and see how you got on. Sorry. So we've got, I think, what a small snag some people perhaps didn't notice was you can get $5,000 back from the programs. So your total income should be $29,000. Then with all of your expenditure, your total expenditure should be $26,230, which once you've taken your expenditure away from your income should leave you with a gross profit of $2,770. How many people got that? Okay. Yeah. Excellent. All right. Okay. Did anybody go slightly wrong along the way? But not at the end. Yes. Right.
Yeah.
How was that for an exercise? Was that okay? Working through that? Because your assignment is very similar to this. Okay. So you're going to be doing something like this for your assignment. Okay, we will work through it at the end. Okay, so I'm going to talk a little bit about management accounting and just budgeting in a more kind of theoretical sense, I guess, and then we'll go back to doing some more practical stuff later on. So basically, when we're talking about management accounting, we're talking about the process of being able to identify financial information and plan for the future. So it's allowing us really to measure, accumulate, analyze, prepare information and targets essentially for internal managers to be able to make, or to set targets for internal managers. So we're really concerned with providing information to other members of staff or people within our organization who are directly responsible for managing that budget or that plan. Okay. It's quite different. Well, later on in the semester, we're going to be looking at financial statements, where we're going to be looking at cash flow statements, profit and loss, and balance sheets. But they are all backwards-looking documents. So we're going to be looking at what you would need to do before you actually get to that position. So these are forward-looking. So management accounting involves being proactive with the use of financial data by using it for planning, decision-making, and control purposes. And as I say, by contrast, some of those other types of documents are used on a historical basis. So they report on what has happened in the past rather than what we think might happen in the future. So management accounting information is compiled and reported in a way which best suits the needs of an organization. So you might have different types of budgets within the same organization. Equally, you might have it presented in different types of ways across different organizations. So there's no sort of one-size-fits-all when it comes to budgeting, and it will be very much dependent on the type of organization or what you need. So unlike financial accounting data, which is in the public domain, it's an internal document, so you don't need to share your budgets with Companies House or the public, okay? So it's for your purposes only, and to make sure that you have some metric or some yardsticks really to be able to monitor how you're performing on a financial basis, okay? And as we said at the bottom here, no credible manager will plan to record financial transactions and wait to see what happens at the end of the year. So we obviously have our budgets, and that's not the end of it. We have to make sure that we're actually sticking to our budgets at some place. So good managers will plan their operations in order to achieve the desired outcome, and they might have to take corrective action along the way. So when we looked at that case study at the start with the American football team, one of the things they might have done, or perhaps could have done earlier, was take some corrective action to realise that actually they were going way off course, and actually try to ensure there's a close match between what we think is going to happen. Okay, so budgeting is about what we think is going to happen, and actually as the year progresses, making sure that we are in line and aligned to our budgets. Everyone happy with that? Clear on what we mean by budgeting? Great. So as we say here, they don't just drift. A sports organisation won't just drift from year to year and kind of hope that the finances stack up at the end of the year. But what they're trying to do is make sure that there is a plan and a target that they can stick to and to monitor their financial performance on a regular basis. This is often a one-year period that they do this for, although you can get budgets for any kind of time period that kind of suits the organisation. If you think about sports organisations that play in competitive leagues or they have league seasons, they might have different types of financial budgets. They might have a budget for the season, which might only be 8 months, for example, okay? But it's really just about creating a plan and trying to express this plan in a financial sense. So you're going to be producing some budgets later on, and as we say, it's a relatively straightforward process. We need to know how much money is going to come into the organisation and how much money is going to be spent, and then we're going to work out the different sources of revenue, okay? We're going to work out the cost of the services the organisation delivers, overhead costs, including salaries, and any other costs such as investment in equipment, maintenance, and everything else. So I'm going to get you to have a little think about what you would need to create a budget. So what type of information do you need to create a budget? And if you have a look on a Padlet, I'd like you to upload what kind of things you would need to know in order to create a budget. Is that fair? And I think if we think about this in the context perhaps of an amateur rugby club or something, okay? So a rugby club that has numerous different teams, okay? So what information would they need in order to budget? Okay, so that's what we've got. Last year's numbers. Overall area of finance requirements. Venue costs, good. Income through clubhouse and tickets, good. And taxes is a good one. Often gets forgotten about. So when we say any income they might have, what kind of income do you expect them to have? A rugby team, an amateur rugby team. How are they going to generate most of their revenue?
Through the tickets and the clubs, and also winning competitions, winning prizes, depending on how good the club is.
Okay, so let's imagine that they are very amateur, so they're probably not going to have many people coming to watch their games.
Sponsorship.
Membership. So how many members are they expecting to have? Yeah, that might be something they would want to know.
Sponsorship.
Excellent. Yep, sponsorships. Good.
You can take it from government.
Yep.
Government remuneration.
Yep. Subsidies.
Subsidies.
Yeah. Administration fees. Yep. Kids. Anything else we can think of?
Do we do you know whether it gives coaching to kids?
Yep.
If that happens, then we can like fees for learning, something like that.
Yep. Okay. Yep. Good. So the cost of actually delivering some of the services they do. Yep. Okay. Good. These are all very good suggestions. Sponsorship. Excellent. Yeah. Anything else we can think of? Okay. So let's have a look at some of the different other things we might need. So how many members do we need? So if we're working backwards from where we started with our events, how many people do we need to turn up to our event for it to work? Well, how many members do we actually need, and what price should we set the subscription price at to the membership fees being subscriptions? Are we going to charge for match fees as well? Are they going to come along and pay per match? Okay, and what will the cost of running and maintaining the clubhouse? Somebody said the clubhouse for the benefit of the members. What will be the cost of paying for match officials? I think you said something similar. How much revenue can be generated from the bar and catering sales? How much can be realized from fundraising activities? And what investments are necessary to improve the infrastructure and services of the club? Okay, and actually what most organisations like a kind of a member-owned rugby club, an amateur club, most of those voluntary sports clubs that we spoke about last week, and actually to some extent some of the professional clubs as well, what actually most of them are trying to achieve is survival. So they're trying to break even each year. That's the objective in a financial sense. Obviously, they're trying to get a bit of surplus or a bit of profit at the end of the year. But actually, for many of them, it's about survival and trying to make the ends meet in terms of that in a financial sense. Okay. So organizational survival can be achieved in a variety of ways, such as making sure that income is at least equal or to or greater than expenditure. That sounds fairly straightforward, but a lot of organizations will have more expenditure than income. Generating sufficient surpluses to be able to maintain and develop an organization is often very important. It's thinking about how you're actually going to grow the organization, not just surviving, but also delivering sufficiently well on social objectives. So a lot of these organizations might also be registered as charities that might have a social purpose and an objective where they have to encourage participation. And in order to get a certain number of people getting active or hit other outcomes or indicators around kind of community cohesion or tackling social deprivation, there might be subsidies available to them depending on how well they deliver on those objectives. Okay. So as we said, financial management concerned with how the organizations run, for forward-looking, so we're looking to the next year perhaps, or whatever the time period is, and we're doing it in order to monitor and control financial resources, deliver efficiently, make sure we're within budget. Two things that we need to make sure. Is the organization making a surplus or profit, or operating within the resources allocated to it? And is the organization able to continue in business? This is quite an important one. So is it a going concern is essentially what we call this. And that's making sure that actually we can continue to pay the bills that come in as and when they come in. And we're not kind of pushing problems down the road. We have enough money in the bank that we can meet our obligations and liabilities. So why budget? We're trying to predict future income. We're trying to predict future expenditure. We are doing it for a specific period of time. We're using it to make decisions about our organization. We're planning for the future, and we're investigating differences or variances. So if we budgeted for a certain amount of money to be spent on food and drink, and we ended up exceeding this by a huge sum of money, actually having this budget allows us to understand perhaps why that is happening or why we are losing money in a particular department. The reason that we do it is obviously to make sure that we can be a financially sustainable organization, making sure there's no surprises down the road with budget, and we know that we're going to have to pay a tax bill at the end of the year, making sure that we're aware of that, making sure there's no surprises later down the road. It helps inform our decision making, it helps in terms of our event planning, and quite importantly, our alignment of goals and motivation as well. two different types of budgets that we might think about. One would be a short-term budget where we're looking at kind of income and costs for the next year. This keeps us focused on the day-to-day operations of the organization, and we might break this down into a quarterly statement or a budget or perhaps even a monthly budget to help us keep a track throughout the year. And then perhaps a longer-term budget as well, where we look at it over perhaps 3 to 5 years. Okay, so two different, very, very different types of budgets. In terms of business planning, it's quite an important thing to think about is where are we now? So where are we as an organization right now? And how did we get here? Where are we going, or how are we going to get there? Now, when we think about where are we now, we can kind of show this in terms of historical data. So as I mentioned, we're going to start looking at profit and loss statements, balance sheets, and cash flow statements. But as I say, they're all historical documentations. They're all reporting on things that the organization did 12 months ago, okay? So that's going to tell us about how where we are now. But how do we get here? Where are we going? And how are we going to get there? Quite tricky to do that, okay? So this is about predicting the future, and that's where budgeting comes in. Okay, I'm going to give you a break. That's an hour and a half of work. So let's start back at 1:45, if that's okay. So if you want to grab a quick coffee, etc., go to the bathroom.
Yes. So this program income document.
Where is that mentioned?
Is it because of this? This
Coast here and then understanding
It's not very clear, but yeah.
this will be actually the room has a capacity of 3,000 people. That is also
Yeah.
will be eligible to printing charges spectators fine the room.
Yeah.
So,
1,000.
1,000
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree. I think it's good feedback.
Fine, thank you.
Assignment due.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. We will, yeah, we'll talk about it. But essentially, it's
One of the take 45% from the
Yep. Yep. Okay. So you probably want to put it in both the income and the expenditure. So you probably have the cost of purchasing the food and then how much you generate from selling it. Because they might also be in different months, which will have an impact on your cash flow. But we'll work through it. The line of credit is a good one. So from memory, you can get a line of credit, but that can't exceed $20,000 or $10,000. So you need to think about whether or not any of the scenarios you're going to exceed that line of credit. Okay. Yeah. But we'll talk about that. Am I saying right? Silka. Sorry.
So this one doesn't work. You're welcome.
Which page is that, sorry?
For the assignment.
And then you need help using Excel.
Yeah. Thank you.
Does it work now, Silka? Silka, does it work now? Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm sure you're aware about usually takes a lot of people, right?
There's that problem.
Okay, is that everyone back? Yeah. Okay, guys, so we will crack on. It'd be great if we could finish up a little bit before 6, but there's quite a bit to get through. Okay, so one of the key things that we'll be thinking about here is the budgeting process. Oh, sorry. This is a 9-step process that we'll go through, or sports managers will go through, or the theory of creating a budget, okay, for a sports organisation. So the first bit is really thinking about our objectives. Okay, so what is the objective of the organisation, and how does this relate to financial decisions? So when we're thinking about this, we're thinking in monetary terms, what is it that we're trying to achieve? So the objectives are going to vary depending on the type of organisation that we are, right? So the organisational objectives, if we're a community sports club, for example, which exists for the benefit of its members, we may desire to do nothing more than break even, right? We're just trying to survive in a financial sense, okay? So we're trying to make sure that the ends meet and our expenditure and income matches. Okay, a professional football team might need to balance the requirements of producing a successful team on the pitch with the requirements of also being a commercial organisation as well. However, whatever the objective is, they need to have certain qualities that enable them to be measured. So they need to be smart. Who's come across SMART objectives before? Yeah, you come across SMART objectives. Okay, so this is a mnemonic which stands for specific, measurable, achievable, ranked, and time limited. Okay, so the objectives that we want them to be SMART. Okay, so the objective needs to be specific, measurable, achievable, ranked, and time limited. And I know that you won't be thinking about your dissertations just yet, but when you do start thinking about your dissertations, you'll want the title of those dissertations to be SMART, okay? So they need to be measurable. Whatever it is you're trying to research or find out, you need to be able to measure it in some way, okay? So when you're setting your objectives, same as in an organisation, it needs to be SMART. So I'm going to get you to think about creating some SMART objectives for these different types of organisations. So think about what a SMART objective for a sports governing body like the RNA, which is the governing body for golf, might have. What might a SMART objective for a local community tennis club be? What might a SMART objective for a high-achieving, aspirational English Premier League football club be? And what might a SMART objective for the fitness centre in the University of Sport be? So have a little think, have a little chat. I'll show you what SMART means again. You might want to make a note of it. Specific, measurable, achievable, ranked, and time limited. And think about creating SMART objectives for each of those 4 types of organisations. They don't need to be financial objectives. They just need to be objectives for the organisation. Okay. Clear? Do we understand what we're trying to do here? So have a little chat with whoever you're sat next to. Try and work out what a smart objective might be for each of these 4 organisations. How are we getting on? Will I give you an example of one just to help give some context if anyone's struggling? So if we think of a sports governing body, what do we think the objectives of sports governing bodies are generally? What's their purpose? What's their remit?
Increase sport participation.
Excellent. Okay, great. So increase participation. Increase what else?
Develop the local. Okay, take for instance, I'm talking about the Nigerian Football Federation.
Okay.
I think one of the aims is to develop the local league.
Yep, good. Okay.
So that they can produce players into the national team.
Good. Okay. So, yep. So they might be looking to develop leagues and sort of setups within leagues. Okay, good. What else might a sports governing body do?
So to have a base fund,
Yep, good.
can collect, like supposedly, can collect some £5,000 in 6 months through marketing or membership as a specific measurable goal.
Excellent. Okay, good. Very good example there. Okay.
We conduct an event.
Yep. Give an example.
Of an event.
Yep. That a sports governing body might run.
Tournaments.
Yep. Okay.
Many types of tournaments.
Yep.
Can be.
Okay. Yeah, no, absolutely. Right. Okay, good. So a sports governing body might have an objective like to increase the number of qualified coaches in that sport within 12 months. Okay, so that might be a smart objective. So they've got the time limit, they've got 12 months they want to achieve it in. It's specific in that they want to they want to increase the number by 25%, shall we say. So it's specific. It's time limited, it's measurable because you can count how many people have actually gone and done your courses. Okay, and is it realistic? Yes, probably quite realistic as well. Okay, so thinking about things in those senses. What do we have then for an example of our local tennis club? Any examples? What might a smart objective for a local tennis club be?
Reaching out to nearby schools to try to get more participants.
Okay, so what does that's good, but what does that need to have for it to be a smart objective?
I guess time.
Yeah, time?
Yeah, like for the summer program.
Yeah, okay, so over a 6-week period, yeah. What else would it need?
Increase in memberships.
Yes, so it might need to have a number attached to it or a percentage of...
Within the next 6 months, a particular
Good.
percentage of increase.
Excellent. Okay. What about a Premier League football team? What might an objective be for them?
It depends. Like if the team is a relegation battling team, then they might aim to not get relegated, or is it like if it is like Man City or those big clubs winning the Champions League or even the league?
Good. Okay. Yeah. So that obviously affects the attainable, realistic aspect of the SMART objective, doesn't it? It's not realistic, sadly, for West Ham to expect to win the Premier League, but it's so we need to adjust our expectations accordingly. Okay. And what might be a SMART objective for the fitness centre here at the university?
Is it just the fitness center, or like even is it real, like for the sports also?
The sports centre, sorry, yeah.
Produce talents to like go like the swimming center has athletes who will made in the Olympics, right? So
Yeah.
producing more talents like that.
Okay, good. Yeah, how can you make that SMART?
Producing more physically fit individual with a training period of 8 weeks or 3 weeks, 3 sessions per week in next 6 months
Okay.
for physically fit individuals to produce
Yeah. How are you going to measure fitness?
fitness measures.
Fitness measures. Okay. Good. All right. Well, there's some of the examples we've got here. So, if it was the sports governing body, as I say, increase the number of qualified coaches by 5% over 12 months. So we have both the specificity of it, the 5%, the measurable aspects, because we would know if we were the sports governing body how many people are taking our programs, and we've got the time period as well. The local community club increase utilisation of alcohol courts by 20% of weekends between May and September. The Premier League club increase profit by 5% over the next 12 months, and the fitness centre might be to increase membership of the fitness centre by 10% over the next 6 months. So this is how you might make some objectives SMART, okay? And we're going to have to come back to this later on, this kind of idea of whether it's a SMART objective. The second step in our budget is auditing resources, okay? So the audit of resources, a reality check on what we've got and our objectives. Is it realistic, essentially, to be able to achieve what we want to achieve? So if it was that Premier League football club that realistically might be battling relegation, do they have the resources to actually do that, or do they not? Okay, so it's the purpose to ensure that the objectives and the resources required to achieve them are internally consistent. If we've got a discrepancy between the objectives and the resources, we've got 2 courses of action. We can either try and get more resource, or we can either try and lower our expectations and lower our objectives, essentially. Okay. The third step is operationalize strategies. So having confirmed what it is that we actually want to achieve, and actually that we've got the resources that we feel like we need to deliver them, we need to consider the day-to-day tactics that we use to meet the objectives. So actually, how are we going to go about enabling the objectives? What do we want to deliver? What resources do we need to deliver it? And what do we need to do and try to achieve our objectives? So this is actually from Triathlon Scotland. So this is actually how they integrate their vision and mission and then their strategic plan over 4 years into their annual budget forecast. So you can see it's all very closely tied together, their operations. Their objective is to increase participants, introduce more people to a triathlon experience. They're going to go about that by delivering 16 Go Tri training camps and 4 annual events. And they're going to allocate budget. It's going to include both people and programs. They're going to go into that. So the finances going out of that are into our people and programs. Allocate responsibility, obviously a very important one. The successful achievement of our objectives doesn't just happen by chance. Okay, we need to make sure that we've got proper structures in place and a proper plan in place as well. So sport primarily are a service industry, and the most important people in determining the extent to which objectives are met are an organisation staff. So we need to make sure we've got the people with the right skills and ability to be able to contribute towards the organisation's overall plan. And they also need to be signed up to the objectives as well, which is why it's really important for budgeting not to be done by just kind of higher management, but actually to involve people that are going to be responsible for managing those budgets as well. Okay. So actually, it's not until step 5 that we actually prepare our budgets. Worth noting, the actual presentation of budgets doesn't occur until almost the midpoint of the budgeting process. This is important because it makes the point that budgeting is not an isolated process, it's an integral to overall business planning. When preparing a budget, there are two important considerations, namely how much income or expenditure and when the income or expenditure will occur. So this is perhaps what we might look at on a high level budget. Okay, so this is very broad categories that we would look at. Again, this would be for something like triathlon. Okay, and then if we drill it down, these are the types of things we might look at. Okay, so I want you to now think about, we're only halfway in our budgeting process, but I want you to think about anticipating income. So if you go to exercise 4 on campus, I want you to have to think about what type of income an organisation might be expected to have. everyone getting on so far? Okay. again. Right? How do you find it doing the formula? Yeah. That was a really horrible noise. How's everyone finding doing formula on Excel? Okay. Yeah.
I keep forgetting to add the column up down the. Did I just highlight it? If I go.
Yeah, and then drag it. That's it. And then close brackets. Yeah. Everyone okay here? Yeah.
It was just at the gross profit percentage.
Yes. So you need to work out what 50%. So the equation would be yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, yeah, that's a good point. So 12 months of the year you get the subsidy, so 12 months.
Well, no, it's just it's coming out as any when I've got it.
15, 13, 16.
Right.
Individual numbers, it's just coming out as any. It should just be numbers.
Yeah. Yeah, that didn't happen when I did it. What happens if you work out the total construct? Feels like there's something going wrong here.
Wonder why he did
Right. Right.
But I can have them all.
Yeah, see that. But it looks like yeah.
I couldn't understand. Couldn't understand the canteen service for 20 weeks of the year. It is
Yep. So I've just broken into two different lines for the two different periods of time. So the one where it's open for 20 hours and then the 4 additional weeks, you break it into two like that. Yeah. Yeah.
Here it comes in minus, right?
The cost of the cost of them of buying it.
No, but the cost price is 20.
Yeah.
We are showing it to 15.
No, the other way around. So the cost to them should be less than the selling price.
Yes.
Yeah.
But
So the cost to them is $7, but they're selling it for $12. Yeah. Yeah.
This is like an easy. Is there a formula to calculate that?
So I find this so
I mean, I know it's.
oh, sorry. So yeah, you just take the selling price and each way is what it costs.
There's no like.
What did you say?
The ground bits in 12 months, yes, so you get the $500 for 12 months.
The season's only 22 weeks.
Yeah. No, good question. Yeah, yeah.
I'm not sure which is this.
1 second, I'll just have a look at it. Yeah. Sorry, was it here?
Yes, sir. Canteen profit is 50%.
Yes, but you need to put the number in. So, that's another good point. On the gross profit, it comes up with a percentage. You need to reformat the cell so it comes up with a number. Okay, rather than a percentage. For the gross profit one. So, do you know how to reformat a cell? So, for this one, if you put it in the gross profit, it would normally come up with a percentage. Okay, you need to highlight it, right click it, go to format cells, and go to general rather than percentage. Yeah. Okay, I'll give you another couple of minutes.
So they open for 6 hours.
So display 18.
How are we getting on? Nearly there? Yeah.
Canteen sales. Could you please explain the canteen sales?
Canteen.
Gross profit.
Can you
Gross
please
profit.
explain?
Yeah.
Could you please explain?
Gross profit. So it says that they're expecting 50% of what they sell to be profit. Yeah. So you need to divide that by half, essentially. So this is the total of what they sell, but actually they've got costs as well. So 50% of it is profit. Okay, and then you need to times that by the number of weeks and hours. Yeah. Okay, going to move on because I want to leave enough time for us to look through the assignment. But I'll share this document with you later on, so if you want to access it and have a look through and see how you got on. If you want some more time to work through it, then hopefully the number you should end up with is 196,000. Yeah.
For the canteen sales, how do we get the total amount?
So for the canteen sales, it says that 50% of what they expect will be profit, because they've obviously got costs as well. So you would, there's a couple of different ways you can do it, but the way I would do it would be to divide it by 100 and times it by 50. So you'll get 50%. Yep. Okay. And then you would times that by the number of hours, number of weeks. Okay. Right. So let's go back to our budgeting cycle. 196,000 something, $64 or something. Yeah. Got it? No. It's okay. Right. So we've now anticipated our income and expenditure. We've approved our budgets, hopefully. So once an acceptable match has been achieved between an organisation's business objectives and the financial consequences of those objectives, a line needs to be drawn under the preparation of the budget stage. The point at which this line is drawn is the approval of the budget stage, which effectively puts the end to the various iterations of the budget, and we can start to actually work with what we've got. We then implement our budget. Logical consequence of a budget being approved, it can be implemented with effect from the date to which it applies. For example, if an organisation's financial year operates from 1st of April to 31st of March, it'd be a reasonable expectation for the budget to be approved by the committee or board at least 1 month before the new financial year started. Okay, so you want to make sure that you've got your budget agreed before the start of the new financial year, so you know what you're working with. Everyone comfortable with that concept? Yeah? Okay, budgeting, we need to then measure our performance. And what we've got here is an example of variance analysis. Okay, so we can see here we've budgeted, this is again Triathlon Scotland, and this is a breakdown of their budget. So for example, they were expecting to have £13,333 in government grants. They actually ended up with 20,000. And the variance is £6,667, which works out to around 50% variance, okay, positive, okay. So this is just a way to find out how far we've come with our budgets, how closely aligned, and obviously if you have big differences in variations here, that's a cause for concern, or if they're all positive, then that's absolutely great, but we should perhaps be thinking about readjusting our budgets for next year. Why do you think the sponsorship, the government grant might be so high ahead of budget? More than anything, they've just paid it in a lump sum rather than they've budgeted for over the course of the year, but they've received it as a lump sum. Okay, anything else here that would stand out to you as a cause for concern if you're in this position? Membership fees, yeah, slightly down on what we would expect. Yeah, good.
Our income is higher than the actual.
Yeah.
Vehicle cost is less.
Yeah, never a bad thing if you're getting more than you're expecting. Yeah.
Motor vehicle cost is less.
Yeah, so we've budgeted to spend 1,000, but actually we've only spent 650. So actually, although this is a negative, because it's part of our expenditure, it's actually a positive. We haven't spent as much as we thought we were going to. Yeah.
Even the athlete development budget exceeded.
Yeah. Yep. So they've spent more on their athlete development budget than they had planned to. So next year they might need to increase that. Yeah. Okay. So this is just a way of looking at it, variance analysis. And actually, when you get to the notes of the budget, it will explain the different variances. So membership income, an additional 6,000 of income will be deferred from 2013. This adjustment is still to be made. So you actually find out why certain things are the way they are when you actually get to the notes and the other bits and pieces of the financial statement. Okay. Right, our last step is act to control business. So final stage of the budgeting process is to use the information to inform the direction of the organisation. Highly unlikely there'll be a perfect match between budget and actual comparisons. So very rarely are you going to get a complete alignment of what you budget and what you spend. So the first decision is to make is whether or not overall variance is within a tolerable range. So you need to work out what are you happy to accept within that. By contrast, if variances are considered to be so significant the organisation is out of control, then proactive management action may be needed. Okay, so these are our 9 steps of business financial budgeting. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to come back to critiquing budgeting next week. So I'm going to save that. I'll copy that across. And what I want to do is really get you thinking about your assignment, because we really want to make sure that we're thinking about that sooner rather than later. Okay, so this is your first assignment. I believe your first assignment was here, right? You've not got another one before this. Due on the 20th, I think. And you're going to take on the role of Andrew Griffin. Okay, he is the finance director for On the Ball FC. So On the Ball Football Club, you're required to provide a report to the other 5 board members of On the Ball, on the case for establishing a women's team in Stirling. Okay, so they've got a number of different teams already. They're talking about expanding, creating a women's team. It's going to be up to you to work out whether or not they can afford to start a women's team. In your report, you need to highlight to the other directors what you believe to be the key points which emerge from your budgetary analysis and make whatever recommendations you consider appropriate. Those recommendations must be fully supported by appropriate budgetary and financial analysis. This is where you need your Excel spreadsheets, okay? And remember that budgetary calculations are an important tool to be used in reaching a decision, but they do not provide the answer in total, so that's up to you. You need to think about the wider institutional context in which the organisation sits and to explain and justify your advice. So what do we actually need from you on this? So all of this is on your canvas. If you go to the assignments page, the whole information of what you need to complete this assignment is there. Okay, but essentially what I would like to see in your submission, or not what I'd like to see, what I need to see is 2 documents. So when you go to submit, you need to upload 2 documents, okay? Your first one should be an Excel document where you've looked at the 4 different scenarios which are played out in the report. And that will be in different tabs. So you can have different tabs, and we'll start compiling this in a minute, and I'll show you what I mean by that. But then I also want to see a written Word document which talks about each of the 4 scenarios and outlines your recommendations to the rest of the board. Okay. The written report should be no more than 1,200 words, and the spreadsheet should consist of the 4 tabs, one for each of the 4 scenarios.
I have a question.
Yes.
So no more than 1,200, but what's the minimum?
There is no minimum.
I mean, there's always a minimum.
It's up to, I mean, if you choose to submit 600 words, then that's up to you. It's unlikely that you're going to address the key things that need to be addressed within 600 words. But yeah, okay. So it's good to ask. Yeah. So the 4 scenarios, right? So your 4 spreadsheets. So as you'll read the case study, you'll understand what the kind of baseline position is, okay? So what is the kind of status quo at which they are approaching the situation? And then in the second tab, you'll need to work out how the numbers change if you increase the registration fees. In the third tab, what would the budgets look like if players purchase some of their own equipment rather than the organisation buying it for them? And in the fourth tab, what would it look like if you asked the players to purchase some of their equipment and increase the registration fees? Okay, so how do the budgets change? Okay, this is very important. All calculations need to be done via the spreadsheet. So I saw some of you using a calculator to work out and then putting the numbers into your spreadsheet. I want to see the calculation, the formula in your Excel spreadsheet, which is why we ask you to upload it. Okay, so I need to see the core formula. I don't want to see any inputted numbers or text in the spreadsheet. Is that clear? Any questions about that? Yeah? You know what I mean by that? Yeah? Okay. So what we can do just now is start to... Oh yeah, feedback. We'll come back to that. What we can start to do now in the last 20 minutes is just start to work through. So what I've actually done is I've added something to the assignments page. So now if you're looking for the details of what you need to do, you need to go to the assignments page, you need to go to assignment 1. There's a quick video here for me explaining what you need to do. All of the information is here, okay? You'll find all of the numbers contained in this text, yeah? And then if you go to the bottom, so this is important as well, line of credit. You have a line of credit as an organisation, you can't exceed more than £15,000. So if in any of the scenarios the spreadsheets exceed £15,000 at any time, then you need to consider what impact that has on the organisation. There's some support on how to calculate that using an if formula. Okay, I've added that to the Excel support page, which Silva has very kindly highlighted wasn't working, but now is working. Details of each of the 4 scenarios. Okay, so each of the 4 tabs. Okay, and the cost of the equipment, as you've just done with the assignment there, is presented as here. But what I've added is a template for you to be able to, that's the cover sheet. Yeah, you've got a cover sheet here, so I'll just quickly walk you through what you need to put on the cover sheet. You only need to put a cover sheet on your written report. You don't need to put a cover sheet on your Excel document. So this is obviously your student number. Remember, don't put your student name on any work. Not your student name, your name. Don't put any of your names on here. Just put your student name. So all the work we do is anonymous, so we don't know whose work we're marking. The module code is SPSP001, sports finance, okay? The assignment number is just number 1 because it's 1 of 2. The assignment title can just be on the ball FC, okay? And then you need to upload how many words you've done as your submission, okay? Right, the other thing I've done is add a spreadsheet template, so you can get to grips with what it is that we're trying to do here. Okay, so budget A, what I would like to see is budget B, budget C, budget D down the bottom for each of the 4 scenarios. Is that clear? Yeah. What you'll do is you'll start to populate the details as you go along, okay? So this is your income, and this is your outgoings. And these are your raw numbers at the top here that you can start to put in, if that makes sense, okay?
Is that like the original for the year before with the other teams? Or?
Yeah, I'm just going to quickly show you. Any questions so far?
Plenty.
Plenty. Okay.
I wrote them down.
Great. Do you want to ask me one whilst I'm loading something up?
Sorry?
Do you want to ask me one whilst I'm loading this up?
So for scenario 3 and 4,
yeah,
we're doing just 30 people, right?
Yeah.
Wait. For 4 also, because for the 4 we combined 2 and 3.
4, yeah. 4 is what happens if you ask players to pay for their own.
2 budget 2 is when
this is a suggestion rather than a requirement, but this is a template that would make sense to use, I think, because you need to understand what happens on a month-by-month basis and how the numbers and the cash flow of the organization change. Okay, although this isn't a cash flow statement, it's a budget, but you need to understand the impact that has on the organization's finances as we progress throughout the course of the season. So what I would do is I would type in the core numbers at the top here, and I would copy that across to each of the 4 spreadsheets that you're doing. And then I would start to populate the information, the total information required here. Okay, so we've got fundraising, 2,100. Then how many home games do we have? Yeah, we've got 4. How many in June?
2 and 2.
2, and then 2 in July, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I would start to go across and start populating a document like this. Admission fees. How much should we expect it to generate per game?
1,000.
Yeah, or per game. Sorry.
Yeah, 500.
Okay. Concession revenues. Sorry? Yeah, 500, yeah. And then we've got a cost as well. So we put in, I think it says that the cost is 45%, isn't it? So 0.45 is what we would put in. Equipment costs, field rental, practice facilities, practice months. And actually, we need to work out which months it is that we are training or practicing as a team. Referees costs. How many away games we're going to play? Bus costs, food and water, apparel, league registration, insurance, liability, right? Okay, and then we can actually use these raw numbers, which is helpful. We can use this to do our calculations. So all the information we need to do our calculations and our formula should be up here, okay? Some of these numbers will change, obviously, for each scenario. There's different variants change. But we can start to populate. So for registration fees, we know what sum would we need to do for how much we're going to generate in February for registration fees. What would we need to put in here?
The fee price and the number of players.
Yep, exactly. So that cell times by that cell gives us our total of 16,500. So what I mean when I go and look on your spreadsheets, and I will download them all, is I want to make sure that you have put the formula in the cell. So I know that that number has been calculated by a formula, and you haven't just done it on a piece of paper and put it in. So when I look on that cell, I want to be able to see an equation like that to work out that sum, okay, based on the numbers on your spreadsheet. That's what I mean by raw data. Yeah? Yes?
I've had a similar assignment in the past.
Okay.
Is this being graded on our accuracy of our responses or our support of it in the Word document?
Good question. So you can get 30 marks straight off the bat for getting the right financial information. Okay, so 30 marks straight away for just getting the numbers right at the end of the day. If you get a small few things wrong, you can still score really highly. Okay, so this is very much about making sure you understand how to pull this information, you know how to work out what the budget would look like. However, you're also being graded on, so that's the quality of your budgetary information, 30%, okay? And so 30% is available for your Excel spreadsheet, right? Then the rest of it is very much about your written report. So what we're looking for here is that yes, you can do the budget, but you can actually understand and interpret what the budget means and the consequences it has for the organization. So you'll get the context about the organization in the assignment details. Okay, but your written report is where I'm looking to see your understanding of the implications of each budget on the organization and then your recommendation to the rest of the board members. Okay, so 40% if you can interpret that information and understand its context and the consequences to the organization. So if you think they're being reckless, if you think that they're pricing people out, trying to understand what the nature of the organization is and its purpose and its social purpose, okay? The justification of recommendations. So if you've made a recommendation which just doesn't really make any sense, then you'll probably lose some points, okay? But also you can get 10 marks just for getting your spelling right, presenting it well, making sure your grammar's correct. Yes?
So are we supposed to back our recommendations with literature reviews and stuff like that?
No, don't need to include any literature.
So no references, right?
Don't need any references, no. If you want to, Great, but you won't lose any points if you don't.
So scenario 1, they say 35 people, right?
35 or 30?
35. And
Yes.
then scenario 2, because they raised it, registration fee goes back to 30. But then they talk in scenario 3 about that this option would not have noticeable effect on registration numbers. So that would be 35 then?
Yeah.
But how many people would you count for scenario 4 if you combine 2 and 3? Because
35.
35?
Yeah.
It will not be 30 again because 4 includes raising registration fees.
Yeah.
Good question.
So we're literally combining 2 and 3. I thought it was more just like ideas combined.
Yeah, but in budget C, I think it goes up to 35 again, right?
Yeah.
And then budget D, yeah. So budget D, sorry, would be 30. Yes, correct. Apologies.
D was 30.
Yeah, budget. You can call it 1, 2, 3, 4, or A, B, C, D. Yeah, whatever you want to call it.
Then for the equipment, you have the shirts.
Yeah.
But you also have extra shirts that are like 1,000. All players with matching volleyball FC shirts for game day. So those are different shirts.
Yes.
Okay. And then you would just have to, because that's the 1,000 is for staff and 35 players.
Yes.
So you just have to.
Where when you say 2 different types of shirts, what do you mean? Sorry.
Yeah. So you have above the line of credit, right? The paragraph.
Oh, on the spreadsheet.
No. Just on the text.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Right above line of credit.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, that's shirts. Yeah.
Those are different shirts than in all the way down, right?
No, they're the shirt. They're the same shirts.
They're the same, or are those different?
They're the same. So if you see in the they're the same shirts. The match shirt. There's a training shirts, and I'm trying to remember now. I haven't looked at this for a while. Is there training shirts and playing shirts? I think there's just.
Well, it doesn't. It just says shirts for game day, but it doesn't specifically say that the equipment, the shirt and the equipment is.
What you need to go off for equipment is in this table.
Okay. So that's just a different shirt, an extra shirt that they get.
Yeah.
And then we just have to calculate how much it is for 30 people for like the 1,000 pounds.
Yes.
Okay.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you a week to start pulling this together. And then what we'll do is we'll set time aside next week as well to go through this again. Yeah. So that gives you a week to have a go at it, and then you might have questions that arise from it, and we can work through them then.
I don't know.
Yeah. So.
So it says that the equipment is purchased in March and credited in April. So would you put it in April on this spreadsheet then?
Yes. Okay, I'm going to, as always, just ask for any feedback, which really helps for me, but also perhaps gives you a chance to reflect on what you felt you've learned. Any feedback is very appreciated and actually read. So thank you very much for taking the time to do it. This needs to be bigger. Oh, does that work? Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
That's it.
Yeah.
I know that was a lot heavy session, but thank you for your patience.
Maybe